Planet Remos 4 was peaceful. Shops floated in the air, connected by glowing bridges. Drones served drinks. Alien children played near the fountains. And in the center of it all was the house of noble Cradolin, elite family known for collecting exotic pets. Inside their tall silver tower, human pets were kept in golden cages. They were dressed, cleaned, trained. One of them was named Toma, a young human male with sharp green eyes. He had been there for 3 years. He never spoke. He never disobeyed. But today, something had changed. Lady Cradle entered the pet hall, followed by guests. They laughed, holding glasses filled with bright blue liquid. One guest, a purple-skinned merchant, pointed at Toma's cage. "Does he bite?" the merchant joked. Lady Cradle chuckled. "Of course not. Humans are obedient when handled properly, like good dolls." The merchant leaned closer to Toma's cage. Toma looked up his face. Calm, still. His eyes locked on the alien's face. Then he smiled. A slow, knowing smile. The merchant blinked. Did he just crack? In a blink, Toma's hand shot forward, grabbed the merchant's neck through the bars and pulled hard. The merchant screamed as his head hit the cage. It's hard enough to bleed. Guards rushed in, weapons raised. Alarms. Flashed red dot. Toma let go and stood silently in the middle of his cage. Blood on his fingers. Calm on his face. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He just said one thing. First bite. News of the attack spread quickly. It wasn't the only one. Within hours, human pets across 3 cities escaped their cages. No alarms triggered. No cameras saw how one noble was found, tied to his own throne, his human pet gone without a trace. Another alien family was found unconscious, their tech systems completely wiped. And always, always, the humans left a message behind. "We remember," the Galactic Defense Bureau. A meeting was called. "This is not normal," said Commander Lorek, slamming the table. "These creatures were scanned, trained, controlled. They're organizing," said a nervous scientist. "But without tech, no devices. Just ... thought. Or instinct." A young officer whispered, "What if this isn't evolution?" Lurek glared. "What are you saying?" The officer looked down. "What if it's revenge? Back on Remus 4A." Citywide scan was launched. Every human pet was locked down, caged, separated, but it was too late. In a hidden alley, 5 escaped humans met. One of them, a young woman with burn marks, carried a stolen cum device. "Zara sent the message," she whispered. "She started it." The others nodded. They were ready. The next target was a small security lad post, quiet, lightly guarded, at 0200 hours. Lights went out at 0205. The guards were down and harmed. JUST unconscious. At 0210, a transmission was sent from the stolen console. "You called us pets, but we are the storm. We bite now." On the alien homeworld of Tralax, panic spread. Markets shut down. Humans were banned from public spaces. Some were locked in cold storage units. Some were destroyed, but fear only grew because the aliens didn't. Understand one thing. The humans were not scared. They didn't beg, didn't scream. They waited, and they watched. In a prison cell deep under Vecra 9, Zara opened her eyes. She could feel it across the stars. Her kind had started, moving, not with fire, not with weapons, but with silence and with bite. She smiled in the dark. Second phase begins. The moon of Crick 7 was forgotten. Long ago, it was a science station. Now it was just ruin-scracked halls, broken labs, and silent computers covered in dust. The place was cold, dark, and buried under ice. But one alien team landed there with a mission. They came looking for answers. Chief Investigator Velra moved through the ruined halls. Her metal boots echoed in the silence. She was tall, silver eyes, and a memory that never forgot. With her were 2 tech agents and a combat drone. Their goal was clear: find the origin of the human shift, the sudden change in behavior seen. "Across the galaxy, we need data," Velra said. "Something old. Before humans were classified as pets, they entered the main server room. Most systems were dead, but one console still blinked, dim, weak. But alive, the tech agent plugged. In a decoder, dust scattered. Lights flickered, then click a hidden file. Appeared it had no name, just a date. 2,000 cycles ago, Velra opened it. The screen showed an old log, a video recording. The image was grainy, but the voice was clear. Day 49. Subject, Homo sapiens. Human, unexpected results. The camera showed a man in a lab coat. Behind him stood 3 humans, 1 male, 2 female. They looked tired, thin, but alert. We increased their isolation. There's no language, no light, but they still communicated using patterns. Movement, blinks, even dreams. Velra leaned closer. Her pulse quickened. This species remembers pain. Deeply, they adapt not just through evolution, but through memory. A personal memory. The scientist turned to the camera, eyes wide with fear. They aren't pets. They aren't animals. They are survivors. The screen flickered. Then came the final line. Do not isolate them. Do not humiliate them. Do not give them time. Because if they remember, they will never forgive. No one moved. Velra's hand shook slightly. The tech agent whispered, "Why was this file hidden?" She checked the database. Deleted, buried, locked with military codes. Another voice in the log appeared, a deep one. Archive this as myth. Remove all records. Humanity is no longer a threat. The war is over. File their species as classically domesticated only. Velra stared at the screen. This wasn't a myth, she said. This was a warning. Back in orbit, Alien High Command received the message. They refused to believe it. Outdated nonsense, one general said. Humans were defeated long ago. But they were never erased, Velra replied. Across the galaxy, humans began to act even more strangely. One was seen drawing ancient symbols on a wall. Symbols not even aliens recognized. Another, just a child, stared at a hologram Mapand, pointed directly at a hidden vault no one knew about. When scanned, the vault showed human DNA inside, older than known history. On a mining world, a machine suddenly activated, an old human beacon buried for centuries. It sent out only one signal. Zara is awake. In her prison cell, far away, Zara opened her eyes. She felt it. The memory had returned, not just to her, but to all. Humans were no longer waiting. They were remembering. The aliens had laughed. They had collared and caged and mocked, but they had forgotten something. Humans were not just clever, not just strong. They were built to survive, even when turned into pets, even when beaten and broken somewhere. Long ago, a voice had whispered in the dark, "Survive now." Ice. Later, that time had come. The galaxy was no longer calm. Aliens whispered in panic. Noble houses locked their doors. Government centers scrambled for answers. And everywhere across colonies, stations, and trade routes, human pets were changing. They stood taller. Together, their eyes were sharper, quieter, smarter. But no one could explain how, until a signal came from a deep lab on planet Xion-3. A scientist named Dro. Val had found something. Buried in human DNA, Drovel stared at the screen, his claws shaking. "It's not natural," he said to his assistant. "It's not a disease, not a virus. It's a program." His assistant blinked. "A program? In the body?" Drovel nodded slowly, in their genes. "A dormant code. Sleeping for thousands of years. But now it's waking up." They called it the awakening code. It wasn't from technology. It wasn't inserted by machines. It was born inside them, passed down in blood, hidden in their cells. It activated when 3 things happened. Isolation, humiliation times era had experienced all 3. Now, so had many others. The result? A silent army of pets who remembered who they really were. Meanwhile, on the prison world of Ecronine, Zara sat in a bright cell. Her collar glowing red dot guards watched her closely through armored glass. She had said nothing for days, not since the last blackout. But she didn't need to speak anymore, because the code was already spreading in a lab nearby. One of the doctors suddenly gasped. He stared at Zara's brain scan. The lights danced impossibly fast. "This can't be right," he whispered. "She's thinking faster than an AI." Another tech stammered. "That's not just thought. She's broadcasting something." Outside the cell, dozens of other human pets suddenly stood up in perfect sync. They turned, faced the cameras, and blinked. Once, twice, 3 times. Security systems went black. Doors unlocked. No alarms rang. The humans didn't run. They just walked, dashed together like they knew what to do. Like someone was leading them. Zara stood calmly in her cell. When the door slid open, she stepped out. A voice came over the prison speakers, an alien commander yelling, "Do not let her escape. Shoot if needed." But the guards didn't fire. They dropped their weapons. Because Zara didn't attack. She just looked at them, and they saw something ancient in her eyes. Not hatred, not fear, just truth. A camera captured her walking through the main corridor. Alarms flashed. Sirens wailed. But she was calm. She whispered only 2 words into the nearest microphone. "We begin." Across the stars, human pets turned off their collars. Some removed them without tools. Some just willed them to shut down. Tech experts were stunned. These devices are locked. Can't just, but they did. All of them. On the trading moon of Celis 12, a rich alien merchant stood shaking as his human servant stepped forward, collar in hand. "I thought you couldn't speak," the alien whispered. The human replied simply, "We chose silence, not weakness." Back on John 3 Drovel's final message was recorded before the lab went dark. "We tried to control them, cage them, study them, but we never asked what if they let us. What if the true danger was never their muscles, but their memories? The awakening code is not evolution. It is a return, and we are too late." Zara reached the top of the prison tower. She looked at the stars above, and in her mind, she saw them all. Every human across the galaxy, waiting, watching, waking. She raised her hand, and a single word formed in the minds of thousands at once: rise. It began without a single weapon. No bombs, no fleets, no blood, just silence. And then motion. Across 100 worlds, human pets stood up. They left their cages, dropped their collars, and moved like shadows through cities, ships, and palaces. Pet revolt had begun on planet Luxari Prime. High Chancellor Verne stood in his throne room staring at security footage. "What is this?" he growled. Dozens of human spets from the servant wing were walking through the palace halls. Calm. Perfectly timed. No weapons. "No armor," the general beside him said nervously. "But they're overriding systems like professionals." "But how?" "They don't need tech," whispered the general. "They're using each other." In the galactic city of Relkos, thousands of alien citizens flooded the streets in panic. Shops were abandoned. Nobles called for emergency ships, and above it all, huge screens showed one simple message: "You laughed. You caged us. But now you will remember." The message came in every language. Some aliens thought it was a hack, but others knew Zara was speaking. Back on Vecra 9, the prison world burned. Guards had fled. Security bots had been deactivated. Every camera had been turned against its owner. And in the center of it all, Zara stood with a group of freed humans. No one gave orders. No one needed to. The code had connected them, mind to mind, memory to memory. They weren't just acting, they were remembering. On a distant research station, a small alien child looked up at his human nanny. "Why is everyone afraid of you now?" he asked. The human smiled softly. "Because they thought we were soft. Are you?" The smile faded. "No," she said. "We were quiet." In the skies above planet Droth, a patrol ship was suddenly boarded. Its human cook quiet and harmless knocked. Out the captain using only kitchen tools. The others followed him. Within minutes, The entire ship was taken. No shots fired. When control was complete, the human crew sent a single message. Zara leads. We follow, freedom returns. Panic reached the Galactic Council. Meetings were called. Threat levels raised. Emergency laws passed. But it was useless, because the humans weren't attacking planets. They weren't destroying cities. They were taking control from the inside, like roots growing under alien feet. One council member yelled, "Just destroy them. End them all." Another replied, "They're everywhere. In our homes. It's on our ships. On our farms. If we attack now, we destroy ourselves." And worst of all, some alien citizens were beginning to question. They were just pets, one said, but we treated them worse than animals. Another whispered, maybe we made the monster. On a captured broadcast station, Zara finally appeared on screen. She wore no armor. She held no weapon, just a calm face and steady voice. You called us loyal, obedient, harmless. You forgot humans are more than muscle and skin. We carry memory. We carry pain. We carry wrath. You didn't break us. You built us. And now, come home. The revolt didn't last days. It lasted hours. And when it was done, 3 major star systems were in human hands. Not because of war, but because the galaxy finally realized the pets were never pets. They were survivors. And survivors do not stay in cages forever. Deep in the ruins of planet Halvaresix, the machine woke up. It had slept for thousands of years, forgotten beneath the sand. Powered by a crystal core no alien species had ever touched. Now, with Zara's rise and the awakening code spreading, the ancient beacon came online. Its signal was simple. Memory unlocked. Proceed to Archive Site Alpha. An old explorer ship, once owned by humans long before they were enslaved, had been collecting dust in an alien museum. But today, human hands touched its controls again. Toma, one of Zara's early followers, powered up the engines. He wasn't a pilot, but the ship recognized him. It remembered its makers and had opened a path to a place. Hidden in time, Archive Site Alpha was not marked on any map. It wasn't known to the Galactic Council, not even the oldest. Alien species had records of it, but the humans did, in their blood, in their dreams. In their genetic code, it was where the truth waited. And now, Zara was going there. When the ship arrived, it found a floating world of stone and light. Not natural, not built by any known technology. Carved in the stone were old symbols. Zara stood. Before the gate, as her hand touched the surface, it glowed. The doors opened. Inside was a hologram, and a voice human, old, tired, but proud. If you are hearing this, then we were defeated. And if you remember, then you are ready. The hologram showed the galaxy, but not as it was now. Entire sectors were marked with the human flag, long lost and buried. The humans hadn't been primitive. They'd been powerful. The message continued. We ruled. Not through fear, but with balance. But others feared our growth, our unity, our memory. They joined forces, betrayed us, burned our cities, hunted our children. They could not kill us all, so they erased us. They turned us into myths, pets, slaves. The hologram faded. Another file played. This one was a warning to future humans. Do not seek revenge blindly. Seek memory. Seek justice. Rebuild what was stolen. Let them remember not our rage, but our return. Zara stood in silence. Behind her, her people waited. They had no empires now, no fleets, no weapons of mass destruction, but they had each other. They had truth. And soon, the galaxy would have. It too, back at the Galactic Council. Panic turned to confusion. Reports arrived that ancient human ruins had been found on more than 47 planets. Each ruin carried the same message. We were here first. One alien historian stood in front of the council and dropped his data tablet. This changes everything, he whispered. We didn't find humans. We inherited their galaxy. Another council member screamed. No lies, propaganda. Too many facts had surfaced. Too much truth. Old star charts, forgotten tech. symbols that matched human DNA. The past wasn't just returning, it was knocking at the front door. Zara returned from archive. Alpha changed. Not just stronger, wiser. She didn't call for war. Not yet. She called for remembrance. Her message spread across human networks now free from control. Let them see who we were. Let them remember what they buried. And when the time is right, we decide what kind of future we want. For some aliens, guilt grew. They had owned humans, hurt them, mocked them. Now they saw their former pets standing tall, speaking clearly. Acting with honor, it broke something in their pride. One alien merchant dropped to his knees before his former servant and said. The human looked at him with sad eyes and said nothing. The truth could no longer be. Buried not under stone, not under shame, and the galaxy finally understood. Humans had not been conquered, they had been waiting. It began with a silence, not fear, not violence, but the kind of silence that comes before a storm. Across the galaxy, humans stood free. From farm worlds to research stations, from palaces to prisons, they no longer wore collars, no longer bowed their heads. The stars felt different. The galaxy was no longer ruled by aliens. It was watched by humans. On the edge of the Andari system, a grand alien fleet arrived to stop the so-called pet uprising. 500 warships, shields raised, weapons charged. Their mission, show strength, end the rebellion. The humans kneel again. But when the fleet entered the system, they saw something unexpected. Not battleships, not fighters, just one. Ship.old.human-made. Floating alone in the dark. The admiral laughed. This is their answer? One scrap ship? But the laughter stopped when the ship spoke, not through radio, not through sound, but directly into their minds. Zara's voice. You were silent. You called it obedience, we learned. You called it servitude. We remembered you called it glitch, wanted to make us pets. But now we are your mirror. Look at what you created. Then, without firing a shot, the alien fleet began to fail. Systems crashed. Engines shut down. Artificial minds went blank. One by one, their ships drifted. The cause? Unknown, but the humans knew. Zara didn't need to fight with missiles. She fought with memory spread across human minds, connected by the awakening code. The fleet was helpless, and the galaxy saw it live. Back on the Central Galactic Channel, the Council begged for answers. Why are they doing this? What do they want? Do they seek war? But Zara gave her final message, broadcast to all planets, all species, all systems. We do not want your cities. We do not want revenge. We want something far greater. Justice. For every caller, for every cage, for every child who was taught to kneel. You laughed at our pain. Now you will sit with it, not through death, through truth. The galaxy changed. Monuments were torn down, those that celebrated human obedience. Laws were rewritten. Education systems corrected. Human history restored. Aliens who once owned humans were forced to face trial not by war, but by the eyes of those they wronged, and they were given a choice. Face the truth or live in shame. Many chose to confess. Some begged for forgiveness. Few were given it. Zara stood on the steps of the rebuilt human assembly on Earth, now free after centuries. She looked out over the crowd, millions of humans. Once scattered, now united. She raised her hand and said, "We do not rise to rule. We rise to remember, because forgetting is how they took our past, and memory is how we take back our future." In the quiet of space, the stars watched, and for the first time in 1,000 years, the universe did not laugh at the humans. It respected them, it feared them, and in some corners, it begged for mercy. The galactic arena was full. Aliens from over 100 species filled the golden seats, buzzing with excitement. This was not a war, not politics. This was entertainment, the contest of species, where each powerful race showed off their best-trained pets. Bright lights danced across the stage. Alien nobles and merchants laughed. placing bets. Huge screens showed creatures from across the stars, beasts, birds, and even bioengineered monsters. But none of them caused as much noise as the next one on the list. The speaker's voice echoed. Next entry species 672. Earth origin, model H9. Human female, age 19 cycles. A low wave of laughter rolled through the arena. Some aliens hissed, others clapped mockingly. One voice shouted, "Let's see the monkey." Guards brought her out. She was small compared to the last creature. Wild battle tiger from Theros. She wore a plain gray uniform. Her hands were bound in soft cuffs. A glowing collar blinked at her throat. Her brown eyes scanned the crowd calmly. Not afraid, not angry, just watching. "This is Zara," the host said proudly, standing beside her like she was a prize. "Understands over 50 commands. She does not speak, of course. Humans can. Mimic sound, but their brains are ... simple." Zara didn't move. The host raised his hand. "Now observe Neil." The arena waited. She stared back. Silence. The host laughed nervously. "Sometimes humans are slow." Still Zara didn't. "Neil." Instead, her eyes locked onto the main camera. On every screen, her face appeared calm, blank, curious. It made the crowd shift in their seats. The host tried again. "Neil." Nothing then. Slowly, Zara did something strange. She turned her head just slightly to the left, then to the right. Then she blinked 3 times. The host frowned. "That's not one of the commands." The crowd didn't laugh this time. Some whispered. Others watched with narrowed eyes. Suddenly the lights flickered. A moment later, the big screen glitched. Then the camera feed turned black. An alarm buzzed for half a second and stopped. The lights came back. The host was on the floor. He wasn't moving. A dozen security bots rushed in. Madrone scanned him. No wounds, no toxins. His brain was empty, alive but hollow, like something had wiped him clean. Zara still stood in the same place, staring forward. Her cuffs were still on. Her collar still blinked. One alien noble leaned forward. "Did she do that?" Another whispered. "She didn't move." Zara tilted her head again slightly. Not a twitch of fear, no sign of confusion. The event host's assistant, a pale creature with 6 arms, cleared its throat. "Contestant. H29 will now be removed for inspection." Guards walked toward but stopped halfway. Zara had turned toward them. Just a step, just a glance. But for some reason, they froze. The arena was silent. One of the guards, a seasoned Krell officer, lowered his weapon. Later, in a private room, 3 high-ranking alien observers met. "That's not how a pet acts," one said. "She might be broken," said another. The third one, older and covered in golden armor, said slowly, "Or maybe ... not broken at all." They reviewed footage of Zara blinking 3 times, head tilt, no sound, no command spoken. Then something truly strange happened. In the corner of the screen, another human pet, a male, sitting silently in a cage, tilted his head in the exact same way. Then another, on a different planet, watching via broadcast, did the same, across multiple systems. Several human pets blinked 3 times. Left, right, blink, blink. Something was happening, something no species had seen before. "They're not mimicking," whispered the golden one. "They're communicating." Far away, in a locked cell aboard a merchant ship, another human girl whispered to herself in perfect silence. She had never met Zara. But somehow, she smiled. "We're waking up," she said quietly. "We remember." The training center on planet Vecra 9 was known across the stars. It was where difficult pets were sent to be fixed. Metal walls, electric floors, no windows, no kindness. Pets were shocked, starved, isolated until they obeyed. Zara had just arrived. The guards whispered about her. "That's the one from the arena. It's the one that stared at the camera. The one who broke the host's brain." They didn't say it out loud, but they were afraid. Zara was placed in cell 12. No bed. No food for the first 24 hours. Just a blinking collar and cold silence taught. Head trainer Grask entered the cell the next morning. He was a tall alien with 4 red eyes and a thick whiptail. His job was simple: break any pet that resisted. He stood in front of Zara. She sat calmly. In the corner, her hands on her knees. Stand, Grask ordered. Zara looked at him. She didn't move. He pressed a button. Her collar shocked her. She twitched slightly but didn't scream, didn't cry, just stared. Grask smiled. Oh, you'll scream soon. For the next 3 days, Grask tried everything. Electric shocks, sound torture, sleep denial, bright lights in her face, water sprays. Zara didn't react. She didn't fight. She didn't speak. She just watched. On the 4th night, something changed. Grask entered the cell alone. He leaned close to her face. You think you're smarter than me? He hissed. Zara blinked once, then twice, then tilted her head. Grask stepped back. He didn't know why, but his chest felt cold. You're just a pet, he growled and walked out. That night, Grask didn't sleep well. He dreamed of eyes watching him. Human eyes. The next morning, he didn't come to work. When the assistant trainers checked his room, they found him awake, but sitting motionless in the corner of his quarters. Eyes open, breathing, alive, but blank. He didn't answer questions, didn't move, just stared at the wall. Medical scans showed no injury, no disease. His brain signals were flat, like someone had wiped everything clean. Just like the host in the arena, panic spread through the center. Keep the humans separated. One trainer shouted, another added no visual contact between them. But it was already too late. Security cameras caught it in cell 7. A human male stood up at the exact same time as Zara in cell 12. They both walked to their cell doors, touched the glass at the same time, same angle. No sound, no command had been given. The trainer watching the feed screamed, they're sinking. Zara was moved again, this time to Isolation Unit X. Deep underground, thick walls, no cameras, no light, no contact. Still, she smiled. Alone in the dark, she whispered, we are many. Across other training centers, humans were behaving strangely. Pets who never spoke began to hum. Some scratched shapes on walls. Some sat completely still for hours waiting. One human child refused to eat. When they gave him a puzzle to test, obedience, he solved it faster than any computer, the alien scientists argued. They're evolving. No, they're remembering. Back on Vecranine, Zara sat in silence when a small voice echoed in her room. Can you hear me? Came from? The caller. Zara didn't move. Yes, she replied softly. The voice trembled. I don't know who you are, but I've seen you in my dreams. I think we're the same. Zara closed her eyes. We are. The alien monitoring team panicked when they realized what was happening. Zara had never spoken before now. Her voice had been heard on 12 channels. At once, through collars, radios, even in dreams. Every human that heard her voice, changed. They stood straighter. Their eyes became clearer. The pets were waking up, and they were no longer obeying.